Welcome to howtopam, the channel that promotes professional computing with free open source software, and we're helping FOSS users find the answers. So you want to build a Linux kernel? Well, you don't know how? We're going to show you how right here, right now, how to do it the quick way. This way here, we'll not explain too much. We'll just get right down to it and show you how to do this as quick as possible for those of you who are a little impatient. We'll have other videos to follow that will explain things in more detail. So let's get started, should we? First thing we're going to want to do is open a browser and make sure that you go to your distribution, whatever you're running, Ubuntu, Debian, Fedora, whichever you're running, and check out the build environment requirements and make sure you have all the applications installed for a build environment. Okay, get those things installed so that your build won't fail. Next thing we're going to do is head on over to Linux kernel archives at linuxkernel.org, and you'll notice here the latest release of the kernel is 5.11.2. and we're going to download that. Now don't worry about all these things here. We'll talk about them in other videos, but for now let's just download this kernel. So just click that button. It's going to run that kernel down into your downloads folder if that's where your browser is sent, and we'll work right in that downloads folder. We don't need to as some sites suggest, they suggest that you go and download all your Linux sources into the source folder here. We don't need to do that, and we're not going to do that now. We can build perfectly well right from the downloads folder in our home directory. Okay, so let's get that downloaded, and then we will get started on our build. Okay, so we can go and check out our downloads here, and here we go. We've got our file there. Let's just check the properties on that, and it says it's 112.2 megabytes. Okay, so what we want to do is let's open up a terminal here, and let's change directory into the downloads. Okay, so we change into the downloads and we have a look there, and there's our file right there. First thing we're going to do is unxz that file. Okay, now part of the programs you installed in your build environment will actually have an unxz program. So let's unxz this file. Okay, there we go. We unxz that file, and we will be left with just the tar version of it. However, the tar version of it will be about 9 times larger. So you remember that this file here was 112 megabytes. We'll probably be looking at a file around a gigabyte in size now. Okay, let's run ls again. And there is our tar file here. Okay, so now we want to untar that. So let's go and untar that with this command. And this is going to take it out of the compiled, the compressed format, put it into a folder, and again it'll be a little bit larger. Okay, so we're going to untar this into a folder, and the folder will be the name of the Linux version that you have. Okay, it just takes a moment. Remember, we're untarring a gigabyte of files. Okay, there it is. So let's ls that, and you can see that we have the folder here, right? So let's change directory into that folder. Okay, I like to just highlight that and press my middle mouse button, and there we go. Let's ls that and have a look. You can see there we are. There's all the files in that folder, and we'd like to see the hidden files as well. So let's do the ls command with the A switch, and we can see the hidden files, the ones with the dot in front of them. You'll notice we have no config file here. Now, if we were going to build a config file off the bat, we'll be answering about 8,000 questions. That's going to take a long time. So the best thing we can do, especially if we don't know what config options are necessary, is copy the config from our existing operating system into this folder. So to do that, we'll copy verbosely from the boot directory the config file, and we'll copy it to the hidden dot config in here. Okay, now this tells it to copy from my boot directory of this operating system the config file that is running, that is related to the running kernel right now. Okay, and to copy it to .config in here. So what we'll do is we'll see it in here. Let's just do that, and there it's copied over. Now let's check the ls command with the A switch, and you can see that we have the config file right in here. Okay, so now this is our config file that's running this operating system. So if we have the same options in our new compiled operating system, it should run on this here machine. So let's go ahead now and type okay, we're going to type make menu config, and that will open up a new curses window. And we need to do this step so that we can bypass answering all the questions in the terminal. Okay, so we're just going to kind of trick it into accepting that config file. And we do that by opening this, and there's a whole bunch of options in here that you could look at and explore. And we're not going to change anything for this quick build. So let's just, we've opened it, let's accept everything the way it is. Let's exit it now, and let's press enter to save. Okay, now it tells me that we're ready to press make and to start to build. Okay, so now we can go ahead, type make, and press enter, and we're on our way to compiling our kernel. Now this is going to take you some time. If you have 16 cores on your machine, it might take you an hour. If you have 1 core on your machine, then it could take you 7 or 8 hours. Okay, this is going to compile approximately 19 gigs of files to add to the gig we have. The end result will be 20 gigs long. So if you do have 16 gigs, make sure you run make, the J switch, and the number of cores that you want to use on this build. But even the fastest machines will take an hour to handle this. So okay, let it compile, and we will show you what to do when it's finished. Now you're all finished compiling. Okay, your system has stopped. It's come to the end of all those compiling commands. Now what we need to do is run another command that will make the modules and install them. So we run make modules install. However, if you do this, you're going to end up with an infram installed that's about 10 times larger than it should be. Okay, because it will make the modules and install them all into the inframs. So to avoid having a huge infram image of about 700 or 800 megabytes, we can add this code here. Okay, we add this code here, and then we tell it to strip all the debug codes, all the debug symbols, and strip all the modules, and then our inframs will be much larger. So let's just go ahead with that, and we'll let that go. When you run this, you're going to have to be sudo user. Okay, you're going to have sudo privileges because we're doing an install here. So again, just run that. Put in your password. And away we go. Okay. This will, by stripping the modules out, it will reduce the infram image size down to the standard 65, 70 megabytes, which it should be, rather than 700 megabytes in size. So your modules have been built and installed, and you used install mod strip 1 to strip the debug codes. Now what we need to do is just go ahead and complete it by running make install and still using the install mod strip 1 to strip the debug codes. Okay, so we'll go with that and finish the job. There you go. You see, it's taking the kernel that it built from the Arch folder in AX86 in the boot and the BZ image. Okay, now it's updating inframs for us. Okay, some of your systems might not do that automatically. If it doesn't, you can manually update your inframs. You can see that this one system is doing it here automatically. Okay, and it's also generating a grub configuration file. If you have to update manually, if your system did not automatically update the inframs and update grub, you can run manually C to create a new image, and K for the kernel version, and your version here will be 5.112, but I'm running 0 on mine, so there we go. Okay, so we're creating a new infram image, and it's naming it INITRD image 5110. Okay, mine is 11.0. I know the folder says 11.2, but I'm compiling another package inside that folder. You're doing the 11.2. I'm using an old package. I just put it in the 11.2 folder. Okay, so you've got that done. Now you can update grub. Okay, update your grub. Some of your distributions may require that you run this command to update your config file. If they do, then that's okay. Once you've done that, some of you might even have grub 2 installed, which you'd have to run that command, and of course there would be a 2 here as well. Okay, so if you have to run that command, go ahead and run it to upgrade your grub config. Now all we have to do is reboot the system, and once you do that, you boot back up, and you should be able to run this command, and that should give you your updated kernel version that you're running. Okay? So it's as simple as that. That's how you compile a custom kernel. There's much more to it that will be explained in other videos if you want to know more about how things happen and why they happen. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, you can hit the subscribe button, or you can join us on Twitter. If you have comments, you can leave comments in the comments section, and we will try to answer them for you. If you do choose to subscribe to the howtopam YouTube channel, you will be notified about the weekly Linux how-to videos that are produced right here. And thanks for watching. Have a good day. Thanks for watching another tutorial video by howtopam.